Howdy, yokes, and welcome back to Bacon and Eggs while Ethan is working on getting his list up.
I got my list up. I'm ready.
He's got his list up. Today, we are counting down our top 10 favorite movies.
This has been a much requested thing you guys have asked of us. Like, hey, Tyler and Ethan, what are the actual favorite movies that you guys have? Not just the movies you put on the Bacon and Eggs list.
And these, to be clear, are not the most critically acclaimed movies or what we think are the best movies in a sort of Plato's perfect form kind of way, but they are our favorite movies, the ones that have spoken to us in a way individually. This is two separate lists and have had an impact on us. Now, Ethan, I'm curious as to how you want to do this. Do you want to do like all of yours first and then go to mine, or do you want to do like my 10, your 10?
I want each of us to do our 10 and then each of us to do our 9.
Okay.
So yeah, well, like Tyler said, we didn't pick a list of like what we think are the greatest movies ever. We picked our favorites. Like I think between mine there are 6 total Oscars.
I've got 8 total Oscars.
Yeah, and like there it's not just a study in directors. Like I don't think I put a single Scorsese. So it's just movies that are our favorite that we like to watch. So this is by no means a take on IMDb Top 250 or anything like that. It's just us saying, here are our favorite movies. But before we start out, I want to give you a couple. So I asked our listeners, hey, what are your favorite movies? And we've got some very, very differing responses, let's just say. And I'm gonna go through some of our listener responses as we go through this, but I'll start with just a couple. Listener Sarah Dredge said her favorite movie was The Goonies.
Boo.
And then Walt Hennard said Star Wars, A New Hope. I apologize if I said your name wrong.
That's the first time Walt's ever commented in the Facebook
group,
as far as I can tell.
It is. But I'm glad that got him in there. And then Nathaniel Thomas Miller said, I know you guys said it was overrated, but I answered this with Shawshank Redemption and Logan.
I think both of those are adequate choices.
I don't know when we ever said Shawshank was overrated.
I think we may have said, I don't know if it deserves to be the number 1 movie ever, but it is super good, and it's totally fine if it's your favorite movie.
Right, that can 100% be your favorite movie. A lot of people would say that is the best movie ever made in all of history.
Yes.
So Tyler, I know you had a little bit of trouble making a top 10 list.
I did, and honestly, I might finish this list and be like, you know what? I don't know if I agree with what I even said. Because there's a lot of movies. I like a lot of movies.
I gave you the option to have 3 honorable mentions, and what are yours?
Do you want to start with the honorable mention?
Yeah, I'm gonna start with we'll start with the honorable mention.
Okay.
And tell us just like a tiny like a 1 or 2 sentence about each movie.
So 2 of these films, and this will be a recurring theme you'll see throughout a good number of these favorite movies of mine. But 2 of these in my honorable mentions were movies that we only had like 10 DVDs in our Town and Country minivan, and it had the DVD player. But we spent probably like 1,000 hours in that thing. So I've seen those 10 movies tons of times, and a lot of them are just my favorite movies. 2 of them are actually pretty critically acclaimed and fell onto my honorable mention. One is a biopic about Steve Prefontaine. It's called Without Limits. It is just an amazing film, but I watched it when I was too young to appreciate what amazing cinema even was. So I just loved the movie. It's about Steve Prefontaine, who was a runner for the University of Oregon and then ran for the United States Olympic team, and then died in a fatal drunk driving car crash where he flipped his vehicle.
It's just an absolutely tragic movie.
Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know you'd seen it. That was one of the ones I thought you hadn't seen.
No, I watched it a few years ago because like it suddenly came on me that I was like, Ty talked about this movie all the time for 4 years and then never spoke about it again.
Yeah, it was a huge deal for us growing up because my family, I come from a family of runners. My wife works for a running store. I've never particularly been into the sport, but I understand the power behind it and all of that. I just can't seem to get into the actual verb. But that was one that was stuck in there. Another one that was always on in the car was Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And that makes my honorable mention list.
Great movie.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any explanation needed for this one. Anybody who has seen this particular adaptation of the Odyssey knows that it's just an amazing film.
Oh yeah, if we were doing a list of like top 10 most quotable movies of all time, it would be
God.
Near the top of my list. Yeah, it's just like I could list off general pieces of dialogue from this movie all day long.
He's bona fide.
Yes, you is, or yes, you ain't, my constituency.
So that makes mine. Did you want to hear all 3 of mine before you list yours?
Yeah.
Okay. The last one, this is the only one of this series that makes it anywhere on my list. And it's my favorite one. I think it always has been of this series, but it is definitely not the consensus favorite. My 3rd honorable mention goes to Batman Begins. And I think it is the only DC film, I'm 95% sure, on my list.
Wow,
and,
so none of the Dark Knight movies made either of our actual lists, like none of the Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah, now I did like Batman Begins. I don't know, something about it just really speaks to me.
Oh, it's absolutely my favorite as well. I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
You cannot say enough. And I get that, like Heath Ledger is the greatest Joker of all time. You can say whatever you want about him. Like, I get that. But, like, for me, you can't say enough about Cillian Murphy as the Scarecrow.
You can't say enough about Ra's al Ghul with oh my gosh.
Liam Neeson.
Liam Neeson. How did I forget that?
Ken Watanabe and then Liam Neeson. Two of my favorite, like, action movie actors.
Yeah, I mean, it was such a good film, and it changed the way that you could do a Batman film. It wasn't like Clooney, it wasn't like Val Kilmer, it wasn't like
it was such a far cry from either or any of those.
Yeah, it's like a new. I mean, it was the first of like the superhero noir kind of approach to it, which I thought was really, really cool. I don't know if you'd quite say that was noir, but you know what I mean.
I would say it is compared to other superhero movies.
Yeah, but that's what hits my honorable mention.
So
I'm curious to hear yours. Yeah.
So mine are not in first place. As one of my honorable mentions, I pick Fight Club. Fight Club.
Really?
Fight Club. Yeah, I love this movie. I really do. I love this movie. It's probably my favorite Brad Pitt movie ever. It's definitely my favorite Edward Norton movie ever. And it's just like, it's hard to poke holes in as a piece of cinema.
It's hard to poke holes in as a book.
Oh no, it's one of the best books ever written. And I would say, maybe with the possible exception of Holes, the best like book to movie adaptation ever.
I'll agree with that for sure.
And then
which is a weird top two in film to or book to film adaptation.
Right, but have you read and seen Holes?
Yeah, I mean, I guess they are both so short though.
Right,
that it's a lot easier.
That's the thing is, like, you can read. Well, I can read Fight Club in like a couple hours.
Yeah, I mean, I have the audiobook. I'm pretty sure.
My second is actually the oldest movie on my list. It is called The Quiet Man.
I've never heard of this.
It's John Wayne, and he's a traditional actor for like westerns. Did a lot of like the famous westerns, like The Searchers, True Grit.
Yeah, I'm familiar with John Wayne.
Yeah, right. So this puts him out of his element and makes him this retired boxer who goes to seek his like homestead roots in Ireland.
Interesting.
It's incredibly scored. It's a beautiful movie. It's a great screenplay. It's really well acted, and I know a movie my mother would be proud of me for putting on the list, but it's one of those things that she watched over and over again every time it's on television. So it just slowly became one of my favorites, and it's definitely a movie I would put on anytime it's on TV. It's worth a watch. It was made in 1952, and it's worth a watch.
Interesting. What's your third?
My third is North by Northwest.
Never seen that either.
It is my second favorite Cary Grant movie, and also my second favorite Alfred Hitchcock movie. So it's a mystery kind of thriller type movie about this guy that's wrongly convicted of a crime, and it leads him all over the United States trying to prove himself innocent of this crime. And it's a solid movie. A lot of people say it's maybe Hitchcock's 7th or 8th best movie, but I would disagree with that.
Interesting. So you got some pretty high dollar directors and actors in there, though. I mean, you got John Wayne and you got Hitchcock. Oh,
for sure. And it does not continue down that path.
Yeah, I think those critically acclaimed films. I think you and I are more fans than critics. Is I think what I've learned from talking to John.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like I have a best picture in here.
I have a best picture as well.
Yeah, I have one best picture out of 10 movies. Out of 13 movies.
I think I have a best picture. I might have two.
Okay, so we're going to go on our actual list now? You want me to go first?
I think so. I think you should go first.
I'll go first. My number 10, Ocean's 13.
Ocean's 13?
Yes, okay. Because I cannot underestimate the value of the Ocean series in my life. It started my love for heist movies, my love for Clooney movies, for Brad Pitt movies, for Matt Damon movies. Matt Damon! Because those were the first... Ocean's 11 was the first time I saw any of those movies. And Ocean's...
I'm more than the others, don't care about Matt Damon movies. I just want to throw that out there.
I like older Matt Damon movies, and this has gone and caused me to look at more older Matt Damon movies, like Good Will Hunting, movies like that.
Yeah, for sure.
But I love Ocean's 13 because it's everything I loved about Ocean's 11 plus the Night Fox plus Al Pacino.
I just didn't care as much about Pacino, but I hear what you're saying.
I loved Al Pacino's character. I thought he was the best villain across the whole series.
I think when I first saw it, I don't think I really knew who Al Pacino was, right? So he just seemed like this character in this movie. But the more you get into cinema and the more you watch these great classic Pacino films, the better he gets in Ocean's 13.
If you want to go see a movie that makes you love Ocean's 13 and Al Pacino's portrayal in Ocean's 13, go watch Scent of a Woman.
Okay.
So Al Pacino plays this blind guy who's just a sincere but he's a total asshole. But he is the like catalyst for this kid's coming of age movie. It's the guy from not the main guy. I don't remember what his name is. Is one of the guys from Dead Poets Society. Let me. I'm actually gonna look this up real quick because I'm gonna be really embarrassed if it's who I think it is. No, it's not.
Is
Okay.
it Rob?
No.
It's not Robin Williams.
It's Chris O'Donnell. It's Chris O'Donnell.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He plays Charlie in Dead Poet Society. He plays Robin, Batman and Robin. At first, I thought it was going to be Ethan Hawke, and I was going to be really embarrassed that I didn't know who Ethan Hawke was off the top of my head.
I wouldn't have known that, so don't feel embarrassed.
Yeah, but his name's Ethan. I'm required to know that's it's an uncommon name.
Ethan?
Yeah.
Your name's not DeBrickishaw.
No, but it's an uncommon name amongst so I'm the only one of me on Facebook, for starters. Let's start there.
Edgehill's an uncommon name.
I agree with that because it's spelled wrong.
Correct, it is.
You can blame an immigration officer at the Canadian border for that, but my name is spelled wrong.
Are you ready for my number 10 movie?
I would love to hear your top 10 movies.
I'm curious. I have no idea what's on your list, and I know you saw like a preview of what I was considering. My number 10 movie is another one of those movies that was stuck in our town and country. It's also a movie that speaks to me being it speaks to me in high school.
Okay.
On a whole nother level.
Okay, I'm curious.
And it's so interesting because I met my wife who was much more involved with this movie, and it was just like, she didn't even care. But my number 10 movies, Remember the Titans. Because as far as like my favorite movies and what really gets me going, I just think about Left Side, Strong Side. You know what I'm saying?
And this is another great example of like, if we were doing top 10 quotable movies, this would be my number 1.
Oh yeah.
I could probably just read the whole script for you out of my brain.
In Virginia, high school football's a way of life.
We play AAA ball here.
It's bigger than Christmas Day.
No, I do. I love this movie to some sincere level.
You will be interested to know, and it's kind of shocking to me, it is not my number 1 sports movie.
It is not my number 1 sports movie either. It's my number 2 sports movie, and therefore it didn't quite make a list.
It just barely made the list for me. What's your number 9, Ethan?
What's my number 9? Hang on. My number 9 is Charade.
Wait, hold on. Before we get to that, who directed your number 10?
Oh, sorry, Steven Soderbergh.
Okay, I knew that.
Who directed your number 10?
Boaz Yakin.
You could not have paid me.
No.
There's no amount of money in the world. Okay, so my number 9 movie is Charade from 1963, and this is my favorite Cary Grant movie.
I don't know who Cary Grant.
This is you look him up, you'll recognize him. Maybe, I don't know, but this is a Cary Grant, Audrey Hepburn movie from the 60s. It's another murder mystery thriller type thing. Essentially, Audrey Hepburn's husband is killed. Cary Grant flies into her life in this just dramatic way, and they go on this crazy chase to find the killer and find the $1 million he left behind.
That sounds like fun.
It was directed by Stanley Donen. I think it's Donen, not Donen. It's spelled Donen, but I believe it's Donen. I think that's how Ben Mankiewicz told me to pronounce it on
you putting money on it?
What?
You putting money on that?
I put money on it.
All right.
But no, I love Cary Grant. He's one of my favorite actors of all time, and I grew up with a lot of classic cinema and a lot of classic movies like this, and it's just, I used to love these old movie thrillers, and you just can't underestimate the power of Audrey Hepburn in any movie.
Oh, she's so good.
Like, she was one of the original kind of leading ladies that I was like, man, this person is something special.
Yeah, for sure. I know you had that big Audrey Hepburn Breakfast at Tiffany's poster in your bedroom for years.
I did not. That's actually one of my lesser favorite Audrey Hepburn movies.
If I'm not mistaken, I do remember, I was saying that sarcastically, but I think at one point you did own that.
Breakfast at Tiffany's poster?
Maybe not a poster, but like a canvas?
No. I only ever had one like movie poster in my dorm room, and it was, embarrassingly enough, Boondock Saints.
I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
First day of college, go to Walmart, buy Boondock Saints poster.
That's exactly what I did.
Are you ready for my number 9?
Yes.
This is the only hero film to make it on there. Do you know what it is?
Is it Iron Man? No.
It is not.
It's Guardians of the Galaxy.
It's Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, because it's your sick day movie.
It's my sick day movie. It's one of my favorite movies ever. And it just brings me so much joy. Chris Pratt's always been one of my favorites ever since he was on Parks and Rec, and that is the greatest sitcom of all time. Don't at me.
I'm not gonna. I'm with you.
And I just love that movie so much. And I saw it in the theater, and it just had such like a crazy impact on me, the way that you did the score and everything. And I know that it's not like particularly unique, but I think that they did it best. Maybe not score, but soundtrack. I think they've done it better than anyone, and I think they've to this date done it the best with that and the sequel. But Guardians of the Galaxy has always been one of my favorite movies, and it's I think it is the most rewatchable of the MCU.
I would agree with that statement entirely. But I would say that out of your list so far, Guardians of the Galaxy is my second favorite movie to include Ain't No Mountain High Enough.
both on my list so far include that song. I didn't quite catch that. Ethan, what is your number 8?
My number 8 is The 1999 Kevin Smith classic, Dogma.
Really?
I firmly am of the belief that this is the funniest movie ever made.
No, you're not.
I swear to God. Ironic statement there. So I grew up in a very religious household, a very Roman Catholic household. And when I saw this movie, I was probably too young. I'll be honest. I was maybe 10 years old.
Who's the angel in that movie?
It's Matt Damon. Ben Affleck.
I thought so.
Yeah, they're the fallen angels seeking retribution into the kingdom of heaven.
I don't even know if that's like my favorite 90s movie. Actually, it probably is.
It just plays on everything, all the beliefs that I held. It questions all the beliefs that I held as a kid in like a comedic way that didn't necessarily make me doubt them, but kind of made me ask questions.
Right.
And just like there's so many great performances from Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, obviously, Alan Rickman, Chris Rock, what's his name? George Carlin.
I know that guy.
Yeah, just so many great performances in that movie. I can't, like, it's one of those movies that can make me laugh in some way, no matter what, however many times I've seen it.
I mean, okay, I can hear you there. I don't know if it's the greatest comedy ever made, though.
I'm not saying it's the greatest comedy ever made. I'm saying, to me, it's the funniest movie ever made.
I think there's a movie on my list funnier.
Okay, well, maybe I'm wrong about the statement. I don't know. Just for me, it's the comedy that I would rather watch out of all of them. Because I changed my mind. I have a different opinion about what the funniest movie ever made is.
Is it on your list?
It's not.
What is it?
It's Blazing Saddles.
Blazing Saddles. Interesting.
Yeah.
That's one of those, that's like a Spaceballs for Westerns, right?
Yeah. It's the same director, same whole shtick.
Yeah, I would say...
It's Mel Brooks.
Yeah, Mel Brooks. I would say Spaceballs is... I've never actually seen Blazing Saddles, but I love Spaceballs. I'm also not super caught up on Westerns, so I think I would miss a lot of the...
See, Blazing Saddles is great because
jokes.
It makes jokes at literally everyone.
Right.
It's like there's not a single group of people that feels underrepresented in that their group of people was slighted, but it slights like rich white people more than anyone.
Well, that's the way to do it.
Right, but this was the 70s.
Ethan, are you ready for my number 8?
I am.
I wonder if you know what this is. I mean, you obviously know the movie. Of course you do. There's no way you don't.
What's Ty's number 8 movie?
I actually can't believe this was out in 2002, directed by Spielberg. I guess you can probably guess it from that information, but it's Catch Me If You Can.
That was made in 2002?
That's exactly what I said. This movie was made in 2002, and I got it as a gift for my appendectomy when I was like 9. That's how much I loved this movie, even at a young age. And it was not like a movie that a 9-year-old should be watching.
See, I'm with you. I do love this movie, and it almost made my list, if not for the fact that I tried to watch it like 2 weeks ago and couldn't finish it.
I've definitely not finished it plenty of times, but that's actually one of the things I really like about this movie, is that you can cut it on and just watch part of it. Like, I don't think you need the whole Frank Abagnale story to be entertained by the Frank Abagnale tale.
No, for sure. But I just got bored, honestly. And it was the first time that ever happened to me with that movie. So I was like, I can't put it on the list. No, but I'm with you. This is a great movie. One of DiCaprio's top 5 roles.
That's a tough call. He's in so many good things.
Probably one of Tom Hanks's... Definitely one of Tom Hanks's top 10. I don't know if top 5. That's a hell of a cast, man. Christopher Walken and Tom Hanks and DiCaprio.
Right?
That's a hell of a cast.
Only one of them was nominated. It was Christopher Walken for Best Supporting Actor.
I believe it. It was a really bad musical that I loved dearly.
I loved that musical. Yeah, it's great.
It got horrible reviews and like barely lasted on Broadway.
I cannot believe that. What are we on? You're number 7 or you're number 8?
7.
I can't remember. You're number 7. Okay.
Yep. My number 7 is my favorite Alfred Hitchcock movie, Rear Window.
I've never seen
this.
Made
in 1954, it stars Jimmy Stewart of It's a Wonderful Life fame, and arguably, I think, his best movie. It follows... Jimmy Stewart's a crime photographer who breaks his leg and is stuck wheelchair-bound in his apartment while he recovers. And he stumbles onto this murder by looking in the back window of his like, neighbor's across the way's apartment. And it's another just crazy psychological thriller. I mean, obviously, it's Hitchcock. It's that kind of thing. But it's regarded by a lot of people to be his best movie, and I agree with them.
Interesting. Yep. You've seen a lot more of like classic cinema than I have.
So this is the last classic piece of cinema on my list, actually. And I know I'm missing a lot of great ones like The Maltese Falcon, Casablanca, Citizen Kane, I can't even think of more off the top of my head. There's so many that probably should have been on my list. The Third Man, Metropolis, that people are sitting here going, if you're talking about classic cinema, you're missing the greats. And I don't care. Sorry.
See, I'm just not that involved with classic cinema. I don't think I'd seen any of those that you just mentioned, which is embarrassing, but true.
I've seen every single one of those because I grew up in a Turner Classic Movies household where we watched The Essentials every Saturday night before Robert Osborne died, and they just taught me about some of the greatest air quote greatest movies of all time, and I love a lot of those movies, but they're just to rule out new movies is to err.
I agree. I 100% agree.
What's your 7?
You ready for my number 7?
I'm ready for your
my
7.
number 7 is what I think is the greatest comedy ever made. And I'm sure
I know what it is immediately.
Do you?
It's Caddyshack.
Of course it's Caddyshack. I'm super vocal about this. Caddyshack is the greatest sick day movie of all time. It's also just the greatest sports movie.
I was going to say, is this your favorite sports movie?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay. We have a very different favorite sports movie.
Is it on your list?
It is. There's a sports movie on my list.
Is it Miracle?
No.
Interesting. I have no idea what it is then. But Caddyshack has got to be my favorite. I mean, it's just, I don't even have to watch it. Like, I feel like every time I watch it, I'm only giving it 80% of my attention. So every time I watch it, I catch new jokes and laugh at new things. And I love that part of the experience. And then there's so many references that come from it. Just all of the Bill Murray, like not even having a script, just like, and here he is lining up last day to match it. And where are they? Where's the masters at?
Cinderella Man. At Augusta.
Just like hitting the flowers, like. It just gets me every time that you scratched my anchor thing, and
it's
just the whole thing.
It's one of the most quotable movies
good.
of all time. It's one of it's the best sports comedy of all time by far.
People, I think it is because I think its best sports comedy competition are those Adam Sandler films, and those
No. Hang on a second.
Okay, I mean that's just what comes to the top of my mind.
But like I get like Waterboy and Happy Gilmore. Miss me with those. I'm talking about there are 3 in my mind that can come close, and none of them come close in any way to how funny Caddyshack is. But for me, it's Caddyshack, Major League, and Tin Cup.
Hold on. Is NASCAR a sport?
The 4th, yes, it is, and the 4th on the list is before the Adam Sandler movies is Talladega Nights.
Anybody who knocks Talladega Nights or doesn't like Will Ferrell is just wrong.
But if you've never seen Major League, which is a Charlie Sheen movie about baseball, about the Cleveland Indians when they were terrible,
it's been on at my father-in-law's house before.
Hysterical.
I'll have to check it out.
It's absolutely hysterical. Tin Cup is a Kevin Costner movie about golf, but it's a lot more like dry funny, but it is hysterical. But that one incorporates some of the classic like sports movie drama to it as well.
Yeah, but it's not Caddyshack.
No, it's not. I'm saying that Caddyshack is by far the funniest sports movie ever made. 100%.
Okay. Glad we're
100% sports comedy. Caddyshack #1. One of the most quotable movies of all time. One of Bill Murray's best roles.
I think, in my mind, it's probably his best role.
I disagree with that, but that's.
I liked What About Bob? I liked Groundhog Day. I loved Osmosis Jones.
It's Groundhog Day. It's Groundhog Day. All day long.
Did you see what I threw in there?
I did. I loved Osmosis Jones. I'm sorry, that movie was awesome.
It's Chris Rock. It's Bill Murray. It's
John Goodman, right? No,
I think it's John Goodman.
John Goodman?
No, who plays the pill?
I gotta look this up.
It is Chris Rock, though, right?
Yeah. Osmosis Jones got a 3 out of 10 on IMDb.
I'm sure it did.
Which one's the pill? Thrax?
Probably.
Who played the pill in Osmosis Jones? Lawrence Fishburne. See, this is a great cast. What a great film. Better than Garfield. Better than Garfield. Yeah. No, but I would say that Bill Murray's best movie is Ground.
You know, like a Bill Murray Christmas on Netflix was?
Oh, yo, that was terrible.
It was such a sad.
All right, before we get on with our number 6s, right? Number 6?
Uh-huh.
Okay, I'm going to list a few more of our audience responses.
Okay.
We have Julia Kendall, who said her favorite movie was Titanic. Jason Chenoweth, who said his was Cloud Atlas. And Kaz Dingman, who said The Avengers or Now You See Me 2.
Really?
Very interesting. I love Now You See Me Too, but it just wasn't as good as the first one. Sorry.
It was really. Now you no. Here's Now You See Me Too gets credit for one of my favorite scenes of all time.
Yeah.
Where they're like passing the card around.
Yeah.
Through their jackets and everything.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's one of the best scenes.
Don't get me wrong. Now You See Me 1 almost made the list.
It was not even in my consideration for honorable mention, but it is super.
I'll
good.
explain it later. But can I say my number 6 now?
Yeah, go ahead.
My number 6 and my first Oscar winner on the list is Interstellar.
Ooh, I knew that there was going to be no way we could get out of. You have a thing for these space movies, space sci-fi.
I love movies about space. Okay,
but you like realistic space.
Right. I like.
Sci-fi.
Okay, so I like movies about. There are movies about deep space, like Star Wars, Star Trek, and there are movies about near space, like 2000.
The Martian.
Like The Martian. 2001. The Europa Report. The worst movie ever made in the entire history of Earth.
That's a weird name for a movie.
It's my subtitle that I put on it. Most disappointing movie ever made in human history. By far and away. The Europa Report, most disappointing movie ever made. But
Did you see Hulk?
Interstellar is by far the best, like, terrestrial-esque space travel movie ever made.
I'm surprised that if you think that, knowing that you love this genre so much, that, like, I would have thought, if I'm Ethan, The Martian comes in at 6, and then Interstellar's at, like, 2.
The Martian almost made the list.
Interesting. It was not in my
The Martian was, like my, like, just off the honorable mentions list, but I didn't put The Martian on there because I feel like I love The Martian more because of the audiobook and not just because of the movie.
I have not listened to the audiobook.
The audiobook is, as far as single narrator audiobooks go, one of my favorites.
Okay, are you ready for my 6?
Yes.
So, this is, I think that you're going to see this without need for much explanation, but it is what got me into heist movies. It is one of the most quotable movies of
Ocean's
all time,
11?
and it is the best movie in the series. It is Ocean's 11.
Okay, fair enough.
At my number 6.
Fair enough.
It was the first, I think, we talked about Catch Me If You Can and Without Limits already. But I think it was the first like grown-up entertainment movie that I watched that I like fell in love. Like Catch Me If You Can is like a biopic, right? But this was the first like grown-ups would watch this to enjoy it kind of movie that I watched as a child that I fell in love with. To this day, it's one of my favorites. You pop it in at any time. It's one of the most quotable. It's just a great movie all around. I don't think it needs any defense or even any explanation for making this list.
This Ocean's 11 and all the movies.
And of course, talking about the 2001 Steven Soderbergh.
Ocean's 11. Soderbergh is the word you're looking for.
Soderbergh?
Yes, Soderbergh.
Yeah.
Steven Soderbergh. Ocean's 11 and all the movies in the series to some extent, but mostly Ocean's 11 is just a study in how to write dialogue.
Oh my gosh, for sure.
Like there is, in my opinion, there's no better dialogue between two characters. Like
and don't ever.
Yeah.
Under any
circumstances, don't ever.
Hey
Rusty. And it never gets revealed. It never gets.
And it's honestly, it's so real though, because like when I grew up working with like contractors and stuff, they would just like assume that you knew things, right? It's like when you get into this industry where like you have a very good skill, but you've never done it with other people. It's like the nonverbal communication just isn't there. Like you need to be taught how to do this thing, but you also just need to have the chemistry with the person that you already know what they want you to do.
Right, and the actors, and speaking of chemistry, the actors on the screen just have incredible chemistry with each other. Like Casey Affleck and the other guy who plays the other Malloy twin
are hilarious.
Like I would not have believed that they weren't actually brothers.
They're
like
absolutely hilarious.
Are you a man? Yes. Are you alive? Yes. You're Eva Knievel. And the thing with the balloons, like, don't call me a Jack. I just did call you a Jack. Oh, look at the balloon boy.
Look at the balloon boy. All right, Ethan. What's your number 5?
My number 5 is my sports movie.
Really?
Yeah, 1989's Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams. I thought for sure you were going to say semi-pro. So
not in a million years. Field of Dreams is the one movie I can put in and it'll make me cry every single time.
Every single time?
Every single time. He gets to the scene at the end where he gets to meet to repair the bonds with the father he was estranged to, and he goes up to the guy and he's like, "Hey dad, you want to have a catch?" I'm tearing up right now just talking about it. It's Kevin Costner. It's a baseball movie, and as a kid, I loved baseball more than anything. It was my favorite sport growing up for a long time. I was a huge Yankees fan, and then as my big rebellion, a huge Red Sox fan. And this is it's about like classic baseball players, but the love of the game. And it's about this guy who builds a baseball field in his backyard and sees these ghost players and has to go collect them from across the country. And it's just this incredible story. And yeah, it just makes me weep openly every time. I remember like last time I watched this movie, because I don't watch it all that often because it is just such an emotional experience for me. I showed it to Katie for the first time, and I like went in the other room and like emailed my dad, and I was just like, "Hey dad, just a reminder, I love you."
That's classy. That's good.
I don't remember exactly what I said, but whatever I said was important enough to him that he printed out that email and hung it on the refrigerator.
Wow.
Yeah. And like I'm literally like tearing up right now just talking about this movie.
To make it number 5. I see how it is.
Right, because I love it. Like I love all the top 10 movies on my list. I could watch these at any time.
Yeah, for sure.
Like this was hard to put on a list.
Are you ready for my number 5?
I would love to hear your number 5.
So my number 5 is I know a lot of these I've described as like my first experience with something. This one I walked into and I didn't know what was happening. I was able to run on the cross country team when I was in 8th grade, and I was one of only 2 8th graders that were allowed to do that, and my brothers were on the cross country team. And one night they said they were going to go to the movies and see like a midnight release of a movie that I'd never even heard of. So I was like, why would you ever even go to do this? And that movie was The Prestige. And I saw The Prestige at midnight the day it came out, and it was like it made me fall in love with the whole magician movie genre.
Wait, you saw The Prestige before we saw The Prestige?
Yeah, I saw it at midnight of release day.
So your second time seeing The Prestige. You had already seen The Prestige at the time when all 10 of us went to see The Prestige.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that until this moment.
Yeah. No, I will say it took me, I was pretty young and stupid when I saw it, so it took me probably 4 or 5 watches before I could tell you what the turn actually was, or the prestige of the film. But yeah, no, I'd seen it plenty of times, and I love all this, the whole magician genre of film, and I love going to magic shows, and I love all of that because of this movie. It also made me love Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale and Chris Nolan and everything that is, and it was just an amazing, life-altering experience, and I would say it is one of the few movies that is on this list that I also think is in the top 10 best movies ever made, critically, in terms of the platonic form.
I'm hurt.
Really?
Yeah.
Because we didn't see it together for the
Yeah,
first time?
because, in my mind, we saw that movie, it's become one of our favorite movies together throughout the years, and I thought we saw it together for the first time. No. Because you were there the first time I saw it.
You know what movie you and I saw together and was on my first soiree into a genre that was on, didn't make the list, but was on a longer version of the list?
What?
It was Cloverfield.
Cloverfield came very close to making the list for me.
You know why it didn't?
Why?
Because I can't rewatch it.
Why?
I've not seen it since
Wait, really?
Really?
I've seen it at least a dozen times.
No, I cannot rewatch it.
Yo, that movie holds the up.
I bet I do know a movie on your list, though.
Yeah?
I bet I know a movie in your top 5.
Well, I've got 4 left.
I guess I know a movie in your top 4, then. I'm almost certain I've got one nailed on. I think it's your number 1.
Okay, that's fine. I'm shook, though. When we went to see The Prestige, you, me, Evan, Devin, Mike Metter, Chris Millihan.
Yeah.
You had already seen it.
Yeah, I think this was, 12 years ago? There's a good chance I fell asleep when I was 13
Because we saw it when it was in the small theater.
I don't know that I even went with you to see
this.
You
did, 100%. I'm 100% positive. It was all 6 of us.
Well, then I feel like I must have because this was not a movie that was advertised. This was
You must have told us about it then.
Yeah, I must have been like, guys, we've got to see this.
That's wild. Okay, so that's your number 5.
Yeah.
Do you know what my number 4 is?
Is it The Prestige?
No.
Oh.
No, it's
Is
not.
it in this top 4?
I'm not going to tell you that.
It is.
It is.
For sure is.
It is.
For sure
it is.
So I know 2 of them. I don't know your number 4.
You know 2 of them.
Yep.
All right, we'll see if you're...
I think I know 1 and 3.
We'll see. Okay, we'll see if you're right. My number 4 is Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Oh my gosh, I cannot believe that this made your list.
Yeah.
I can't believe it didn't make my list.
I'm very surprised. I'm almost offended it didn't make your list.
This was
one I was sure that would be on your list.
This is the first comics I ever bought, Scott Pilgrim.
Okay, this is one of my just one of my favorite movies of all time. Obviously, I think it's one of the most quotable movies of all time. It's one of the most I can watch this and feel good about it movies.
Vegan Police.
It's just hysterical, but in a not you're not gonna laugh out loud kind of way. It's the kind of movie that makes you go a lot.
You knowingly ingested gelato.
Yeah. It's just
gelato's not vegan?
Every line is a joke. Every line is a joke.
Have you tried the section marked The Clash at Demon Head?
Yeah. Hey, is Scott here? Boom! He jumps out the window. Nah, he just left.
What's his roommate's name? Other Scott?
There's Wallace. And Wallace's boyfriend is Other Scott.
That's what it is. That's what it is.
Scott. What? Other Scott. What?
I think I'm freaking out.
I don't even need to this. And this movie is made by Edgar Wright.
Is it
the
really?
director of Baby Driver?
I did not.
I did not either.
That makes sense to me though. That's
100%.
very.
Now that I know it, I'm yeah, okay, I can see that.
That is one that I remember.
That's not on your list.
No, I remember it came out. I'm just gonna tell you my experience with it, and we didn't see it. We were at a phase in our life where being that overtly nerdy would have been a problem.
Right. No, 100%.
And for us, obviously nobody would have cared, but in our own stupid prideful heads it would have been. And I remember John Wiggins, who was a friend of ours in high school, was like, oh my gosh, you have to see this movie, it's amazing. And I was like, nah, it looks terrible.
And then you watched it and you were like, no, seriously. And then you made me watch it and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah. Oh my god. It's amazing.
That's not
it's
your
so
top
good.
10, really?
You
have many times told me this is in your top 5.
I think that there is room for it. There have been 2 new additions in the past few years in my top 4 here, or top, what do I have left? 4?
Yeah.
That I think didn't edge it out, but I honestly didn't even think of it today, which is probably why it doesn't make it. But I think with more reflection, it would have made it onto the list.
Perfect.
Are you ready for my number?
Tell me your 4.
4? So my number 4, for my senior seminar in college, I did a study in 2 films. One was an art film called Koyaanisqatsi, which is if you ever have an hour and a half that you just want to bathe in blood. Koyaanisqatsi is a great film to watch. And my senior seminar thesis was on the differentiation between an art film and a film that is made solely to entertain. And the film in theaters at that time that came out of absolutely nowhere, that was a great example of an entertaining film, was Kingsman: The Secret Service. I saw Kingsman: The Secret Service in theaters no less than 12 times.
I was going to say, it was a lot. Because we saw it probably 3 times.
Yeah, I saw it. I would just, like, leave class and go to the movies and watch Kingsman: The Secret Service.
Imagine if we had moved pass back then.
Right?
You would have never graduated.
I went and saw it individually, like me and one other person, with every person in my senior sem. Granted, that was only 6 people, but I saw it, like, one-on-one with all of them. Because I had to present the case to all of them, so they needed to have seen the movie, so it made sense. But this has to make the list. I mean, when I think about movies that mean a lot to me and need to make that qualification, I mean, there's just no way out of it. And I don't even want to talk about the sequel. It was so disappointing, and I don't want to be a part of it, and I just want, like, I don't even want to acknowledge it.
Yourself.
Wow.
The sequel was hysterical.
The sequel was horrible.
Oh, take me home, country roads. Yeah, man, I laughed, I cried.
I hated
Wednesday!
it. I hated it.
Wednesday! Isn't it Saturday? What day is it? It's Wednesday. Oh.
Anyway, that came out in 2014, directed by Matthew Vaughn. Number 4 all-time favorite movie. My last 3, not one of them is after the year 2000.
Nice.
In fact, not one of them is after the year 1990. Put a little elevator music.
I'll be right back.
The Girl from Ipanema.
Okay, before we get on with our top 3, I just want to give the last few audience participation recommendations. Nathan Anderson said Star Wars: The Last Jedi until Infinity War comes out.
Wow,
he has pre-declared that Infinity War is going to be his favorite movie of all time.
I think there's a very real chance that we're recording this before Black Panther. I think there's a very real chance that Black Panther shakes up these rankings.
And then Sarah Smith says La La Land. Great movie.
Yeah, I liked that one. I think that one's you take it or you leave it for a lot of people.
I take it.
I take it too. Yep. I did too. I buy in. I'm all in.
And then
I think actually there are a lot of Gosling films that did not make this list. Actually, none of his films.
Remember the Titans.
Sunshine.
He is not Sunshine.
Like Blue Valentine.
He's Alan, the weird country kid. They're gonna put me in the movies.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
They're gonna make a big star out of me.
I was thinking because Sunshine kisses Bertier, and then Alan looks at Sunshine kind of like, yeah. That's why I messed that up.
Can't you see?
But he was in.
He's my brother.
He was in Blue Valentine. He's in The Notebook, which is honestly an amazing movie. He's in a bunch of really good stuff.
Anyway, what is? I guess my number 3 is next. Oh no, sorry, I didn't. I forgot to put Emily Morse in here. Emily Morse said, LOLOL. Oh gosh, Legally Blonde.
My wife said the same thing. It was her sick day movie.
Legally Blonde's hilarious.
It is super duper good. I don't know if I'd ever put it in my top 10 of
anything.
No, but
it's a funny movie. I'm not going to turn it off.
No, it's hilarious.
Yeah. Okay,
it's
my number 3, and I guess I don't need to say much about this movie because it's already been said, The Prestige.
Right, so good.
Yep, my number 3 is...
You ranked it higher than I did. That's interesting because for a long time, probably up until we started the podcast, actually, I will say for sure, until we started the podcast, that was my number 1.
Fair enough. It was my number 1 for a long time, too, until I saw a movie and reflected upon a movie.
Interesting. Yep. Ooh, now I'm kind of curious. Well, I know what one of yours is. I'm curious what the other is.
You think you know what my number 1 is? You were correct about my number 3, I'm imagining.
Yeah, I'm certain I know what your number 1 is. If not your number 1, then your number 2. I know
that's fine.
This movie has not yet been mentioned.
That's fine.
And you would not leave it off up to this point.
That's fine. All right. Well, my number 3 doesn't really need to be talked about. I loved this movie a lot. I've seen it probably 10 times.
Yeah, you catch something new every time.
It's one I try not to watch too much.
I mean, you got to look at this cast. You've got Chris Nolan directing, Hugh Jackman, Christian Bale, Scarlett Johansson. What was the name of Christian Bale's wife in this one? She's somebody incredible too. Michael Caine.
Liv Schreiber, right?
It might be.
No, he's the assistant. I might be wrong about that. The Prestige. Rebecca Hall is her name.
Anyway, she was amazing in it. She truly.
Andy Serkis, David Bowie.
Who's Andy Serkis?
Somebody named Allie. I can't remember.
I'm sure if Andy Serkis right now is his stock on our imaginary ticker
is about to go up.
I mean, it's already really high, but I think it's about to go up. On our little imaginary ticker. I honestly, if anybody knows of a program where I can create like a stock ticker for all of my favorite characters and actors and like update it daily, I will do it. Like if that's an option I have, I will do it.
So what's your number 3? I'm curious.
So this one is probably the movie I've seen the least on the whole list. Literally, well, with the exception of maybe the one that comes after it. It is the movie I've seen the fewest times. My number 3 is Dead Poets Society.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Fair enough. What a radical
Captain,
call,
my
man.
Captain. I don't think that's a radical call.
Adding this to your top 10?
It's so good.
It's all right.
It's so good.
Okay, you say so.
For a lot of reasons. I mean, you know, it's one of those ones I don't even think I can explain. Just watch it, enjoy it.
Captain, my
Captain.
Captain.
It also had a
my band has a song called Captain, my Captain. Fun fact.
It's one of those. It taught me to apply what I'm learning from others, from people who know more than I do, which sounds like such an obvious thing, but like there are probably so many, and I'm not talking to you now, Ethan, I'm talking to ye listener. There are probably more than one applications for the quadratic formula in your week that you just don't apply.
So I'm guessing you saw this movie after I did.
I saw it for the first time in 10th grade English, and I saw it like a few following times.
It had to be after I saw it then, because I remember Carpe Diem being a huge deal for me, and you being like, don't say that phrase around me.
You saw this after I did that.
I don't think so. Pretty sure I saw the movie when I was like 12.
Carpe Diem was a big deal to me going into like the foundational elements of my faith. And then, because I thought it meant like seize the day, like you can do it on your own. And then I went and had a religious experience where I like abandoned that phrase, where I didn't feel like I could do it on my own. And that was
maybe okay. I'm misremembering the timing on those things.
I'm for sure that happened when I was 17.
Fair enough. Okay. I remember being younger than that, but you didn't like that phrase. Like when we were in middle school.
There's a very real chance that I didn't like it in middle school.
They get a different
because
reason.
I adopted it. Yeah, that's very real chance. Now it means a whole
anyway,
other thing.
That's a radical call for your top 10, man.
No, I disagree. I think it's really, really good.
I don't know. I mean, it's just not that great of a movie.
Interestingly enough, it is the first movie I've mentioned, with the exception maybe of my honorable mentions that I don't know. I didn't check. The first one I mentioned that won an Oscar.
Yeah, what did it win for?
Best Supporting Actor. Robin Williams, I think.
Best Supporting Actor. Fair enough. I don't know, man. I didn't love that movie that much.
I could be wrong about that. That might have been a nomination.
I'm really surprised this made your top 10 list.
I'm surprised you're saying that.
You know what my number 2 is? Do you want to take a guess?
No, because it's either your number 2 or your number 1, and I don't want to reveal it.
All right, I'll tell you my number 2.
Okay.
My number 2 is Dead Poets Society from 1989.
No way.
Yeah.
For real?
Yeah, dead serious.
Bold claim, 100%. Man. You know that?
100%. I love this movie more than life itself, man. I really do.
It's so good.
This movie has been a huge deal for me throughout my life. Just, I found so many different lessons in it at different times in my life.
Right? There's so much good stuff to learn.
And I think it's by far probably Robin Williams' best role.
Not only does it teach you to apply the things you're learning, but it also teaches you to research independently with friends. Like, it's not just like...
Right.
Like it's okay to do something productive with your friends, not for money and not for a grade. Like, just because you want to do it.
Right. It also teaches you to just be a person, like, what your parents say. Go be in the play, man.
Right.
Like, sometimes you need to be in the play. Sometimes you need to throw your desk set off the roof. Like, there's so many different characters in this movie that I've been able to identify with one of those kids at every point in my life.
I definitely know what your number 1
I feel like you've had me pegged since like number 7. But my number 2 is Dead Poets Society. I don't really have anything else to add to that. What is your number 2?
Do you know?
I don't have a clue, man.
Really? This is something
because I think I know what your number 1 is, but I might be wrong based on you saying really. I think what I think is your number 1 is probably your number 2.
So this is something that 6 months ago would not have even.
Yeah, I know what your number 2 is.
Yeah,
I thought this was your number 1.
Well, it's not my number 1, but it honestly was a tough choice.
Although I think I know what your number 2 is, or your number 1 is now.
I don't think you do. It wasn't on the other list.
Then I don't.
So this was a movie that I never had any connection with. I just my family watched it and I just wasn't there at those moments, if that makes any sense. Like I was just at a friend's house or something the nights that those happened. And then I was able to share it with my cousin on the podcast. It was Back to the Future is my number 2, part 1. I was able to share it with my cousin Nate on the podcast, and he had such a huge influence on us growing up, and I'm sure you were able to sort of pick up on that from doing the pod with Nate, just how much, knowing somebody who's like 10 years older than I was, who was chasing a creative endeavor, it's just not something I'd ever seen before, and it was really, really cool. And it's kind of the Dead Poet Society thing. Sometimes you gotta be in the play. You gotta play your own tune. You got to be in the marching band when the rest of your
would
family did cross
Would
country.
you say make your own kind of music? Sing your own special song?
That's exactly what I was.
Make your own kind of music, even if nobody else sings along.
But it was nothing I had ever experienced before. And he would come and visit us at the lake house in Vermont. And we would like, hey, be like, hey, Nate, what about a character who was a cow who was walking and talking and walked on two legs? And then that character would then like go on to appear in like Camp Laszlo, like stuff like that. It was just amazing. You could talk to him and he would have all these amazing ideas. He would draw it and animate it right in front of you. He would take a notepad and like animate whatever you were saying right in front of you. It was just the most amazing experience. And then we didn't talk for like 10 years because while I was chasing my creative endeavors and doing music all throughout high school and college, I wasn't able to go and visit the lake. And he obviously had his own projects doing animation school and he wasn't able to go and visit. So we never got to really meet up. And the podcast was really the first time we talked in probably 10 years.
I really did not know that.
And it was like the coolest, most amazing experience.
Like that has by far been my favorite episode to record so far.
Oh,
like,
for sure.
Far and away.
Yeah, I think the two guest episodes I've been a part of are definitely the two favorite that I've done.
Yeah, the three that I've done. No offense to you because you weren't there for one, but I've just learned so much from each one of them.
Yeah, and working with these people who have done so much in the field and just being able to grow from that. So that was so Back to the Future, just out of that experience, now holds a very special place in my life.
Fair enough. I don't blame you.
Yeah.
Okay. You good?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's your number one?
Before we get to our number ones, I have a last bit of audience input. I asked your wife and my girlfriend what their favorite movies were, and what do you think your wife said?
Air Bud.
No, she lied about that. I asked her specifically.
I think her favorite movie is The Proposal.
Her favorite movie is The Proposal.
Bing Bang Boom.
Yep. She said,
Got it.
I asked you, because she said in our Facebook group, Air Bud. And I texted her and said, what's your actual favorite movie, though? She said, hold on, I have to think. I mean, I could watch The Proposal 5 times in a row. And I said, that's exactly what I said!
Oh, man. That's not your number one,
No,
is it?
no. I'm just saying, that is your wife's favorite movie. And my girlfriend Katie's favorite movie, she declares to be The Breakfast Club.
You know, as much as I love the 80s, I've never seen The
Oh
Breakfast
my
Club.
God, what?
I know.
Okay, with the,
it's crazy.
out of like...
I get it. It's like that he's a jock and a bully, and the main character's a dweeb, and there's a scene girl and a popular girl, and they're all friends. I get it. I'm familiar with the concept, but I've never sat through
that one moment that like sincerely The Breakfast Club I think did more to end bullying than anything ever has in history.
I don't know. 13 Reasons Why was pretty intense.
Yeah, but not a lot of people have seen that.
Are you
comparatively?
Kidding? It is the most watched Netflix show ever.
It really is? I'm surprised.
I was too. I didn't think it was
figured
that
would
big
be
of a
Stranger
deal.
Things.
I would have thought that too, or House of Cards. But House of Cards is a grown-up show, and kids use Netflix.
Anyway, so my girlfriend said The Breakfast Club. Dude, you got to go see The Breakfast Club, man.
I know.
Like out of if you said what are 2 80s movies I need to see, like, and I'm talking air quote 80s movies.
I would say Back to the Future.
No, that's not an 80s movie.
Yes, it is.
But it's not though. It's not like a John Hughes like rom-com type movie.
No, it's Robert Zemeckis.
Right. But when I think, I don't think of Back to the Future when I think like air quote 80s movies. I think of Ferris Bueller's Day Off and The Breakfast Club.
I've seen Ferris.
Yeah, so go watch The Breakfast Club. It's hysterical.
Did Dirty Dancing come out in the 80s, right?
Yeah, that was on her list as well. If you want to know her full, I'm just gonna reveal my girlfriend's deep dark secrets here. I asked her for her favorite movie, and she gave me a list, which was 16 Candles, The Breakfast Club, Silence of the Lambs, Pretty Woman, The Great Outdoors, and Dirty Dancing. To which I said,
I've never seen.
To which I said, Silence of the Lambs is a bit out of place there.
I've never seen Silence of the Lambs.
It's about a serial killer.
I've never seen Silence of the Lambs. Yeah, is that the Dahmer one?
No. It's about Hannibal Lecter.
Hannibal. I've seen that one.
Yeah.
I've seen that one.
Yeah.
It rubs the lotion on its skin or else it gets the hose again.
That's creepy.
Agreed. Anyway,
what's your number one?
You know what my number one is.
Is it Boy?
My number one is Birdman, or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance. 2014, Alejandro Gonzalez Inarritu. My most critically acclaimed movie, winning Best Picture, Best Director, Best Original Screenplay, and Best Cinematography. And probably my pick for Best Movie Ever Made.
How many awards did that win?
That was 4 Oscars.
My number one got 6.
Did it really?
Yep.
Fair enough. Did it win Best Picture?
I don't know. It won Best Picture?
Did it?
No, yours.
Yeah. That's the only reason I watched it, actually. Because I got Best Picture at an Oscars that I watched, and I was like, the is this movie? Because I'd never even heard of it.
It's insane.
Oh my God.
Anybody who's never watched it.
I rarely, I watch a lot of movies, and I'm like, that was cool. That was cool. I watched this movie and I realized, I was like, that is something truly special. It's got one cut in the whole movie.
It's like in the middle, isn't
Yeah,
it?
there's like an upshot and then it scoots back down and it's like nighttime.
It's so hard to watch.
I've watched this movie 7 times.
But what this movie did is it was like Michael Keaton, who's always been great, it just like put him back on the freaking map.
Yeah, which is what it's about, is an actor trying to put himself back on the map.
Yeah.
But like I've watched this movie. I've gone and I made a mistake earlier. But I watched this movie. I've gone and read the book that the play that they do in this movie is based on. What we talk about when we talk about love by Raymond Carver. It's pretty good. But I sincerely love this movie to another degree. I legitimately think it might be the best movie ever made.
How many was it nominated for?
Like 7 or 8.
Okay.
Because Michael Keaton was nominated for like Best Actor and Best Supporting Actor somehow. I think he was nominated for a couple things.
Ethan, do you know what my number
I
one
don't have
favorite movie of all time
clue.
is? This was something I went back and forth on, and I wasn't sure if I was going to say this. But I really thought about it. I went back and forth, and I thought about what series do I love the most, and then within that, what can I pop in and watch anytime? And I don't think it's the best movie ever made, but I think it's my favorite movie ever made because of what it's done for cinema. Winning 6 Academy Awards for Best Art Direction, Best Costume Design, Best Sound, Best Film Editing, Best Effects, and Best Music.
Is it Star Wars: A New Hope?
It is Star Wars: A New Hope.
See, I was on the right track. I was gonna say Empire.
Empire was on the list, but then I really sat down and thought about it, and I was like, if you rank them as Star Wars movies, Empire wins. But if you rank them as movies,
New Hope wins
with
all day long.
Everything else. A New Hope always wins.
Yeah,
because
A New Hope is the only one that can stand by itself.
Rogue One.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. In no fashion whatsoever.
The Phantom Menace.
Nah.
So A New Hope is my number one all-time
favorite movie of all time. Wow.
I don't know that it will always be my number one.
Fair enough.
Movie, but I really love Star Wars, and I think as we get here into the prequels, I'm going to explain something about what the prequels mean to me, because I think a lot of people, I think there's an absolute renaissance for the prequels right now, and they're getting appreciation that they didn't get since they came out, that people don't realize they're giving. I think people are chalking it up as prequel memes and as jokes and stuff, but they're finding all the joy and fun in it, and I think that is going to carry over. And I think that honestly 7, 8, 9 and the Disney Star Wars approach is going to end up being the failure. What was the Star Trek series that nobody liked?
Wait, Tom.
There's a Star Trek series that if you watch
I
this
have no
one,
idea.
you're not a Star Trek fan.
Talking about the new ones, the J.J. Abrams ones?
No, there's a TV show.
The Next Generation?
Was it the
Deep
Next
Space
Generation?
Nine?
I don't know.
It was Deep Space Nine.
Maybe.
It's not the Next Generation. People love the Next Generation. That was Patrick Stewart.
I know. People their whole podcast dedicated to the
Yeah,
Next
because it was
Generation.
way better.
But Star Wars, I didn't know this, was nominated for 11 Academy Awards.
I'm not surprised.
I am extremely surprised.
That was like the second space movie ever.
Yeah.
Behind 2001: A Space Odyssey, which was a snooze fest.
But yeah, that's my number one.
Fair enough.
So just run me down your 10 through 1 again real quick, just so that we have an idea, just to recap
My 10
and to help you out when you're writing the episode description.
I mean, I've got my list, and I'm going to make you send me your list. But
Gotcha.
My 10 through 1 is Ocean's 11, Charade, Dogma, Rear Window, Interstellar, Field of Dreams, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, The Prestige, Dead Poet Society, and Birdman or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance.
My 10 through 1, and I'm going to try to read these, they're kind of jumbled on my paper, but is Remember the Titans, Guardians of the Galaxy, Catch Me If You Can, Caddyshack, Ocean's 11, The Prestige, Kingsman: The Secret Service, Dead Poet Society, Back to the Future, and Star Wars: A New Hope.
Fair enough. Let us know either on the YouTube comments or in a direct message on Twitter, Facebook, whatever, in our Facebook group, anywhere. Let us know what your top 10 movies of all time are. Play along with us. And I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you want to learn how to contact us, it's down below in the towels section.
The towels.
And that's all I got to say about that.
This is fun.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. We're going to have to update this annually.
I don't know about that. I didn't see a single movie in 2015, 2016, or 2017 that made this list. Thank you again, guys, for watching, and until next week, arrivederci.
A New Hope.